Okay, so by this time, you have decided whether or not you're going to go with the XE4 or the XE3 as your new Fuji shooter. And the next question, obviously, is what should you accessorize it with? I'm glad you asked. In this episode of Chris's No Gear Reviews, we are going to be taking a look at my top 4 accessories for the XE3 in my case, but also the XE4. These accessories run the gamut from incredibly functional and increasing the user experience and handling of the camera, all the way to mostly cosmetic, while still giving you a little bit of extra oomph. But they're all important because they all allow you to personalize your shooter to the way you want to shoot, and allows us to express ourselves a little bit. So we're going to start with the functional and end with the mostly cosmetic. Okay, so first up is the most important accessory that can be purchased for the XE3 or the XE4, and that is the accessory grip. Now, if you are rocking the XE3 like I am, it does have a bit of a raised grip, but it's barely there. And if you have giant paws like I do, it's completely useless when it comes to giving you some leverage and some place to hold on to that camera. So getting an accessory grip is a must if you have large hands or you just want to have more usability out of your camera rig. I tried a bunch of them, from the plastic ones that are super cheap to all metal ones, and I landed on this one, which is solid metal and hand carved wood. There are a number of options on Amazon as well as eBay to get this. I will link the one that I am using in the description. And it's a really nice piece of kit. It gives you something substantial to hold on to while also feeling warm because of the wood, and it's just beautiful to look at, and it really adds something visually to the camera that I really appreciate. That being said, any grip will do the job. So if you want to save some cash and just get one that's like plastic or one that's metal and plastic, it doesn't really matter. I just opted for this one because I like the way it looks and the way it handles and the way it feels. But that is entirely subjective and up to you. I suggest you go to Amazon and get 2 or 3 of them, try them all out, return the ones that you don't like, so that you can really get your head around what accessory grip works for you. Okay, next up, we're going to be talking about the thumb rest. This is a toss-up. I find it useful, again, because I have giant hands. But a lot of people don't, because the cameras just fit well in their hands. But this is an accessory that goes in the hot shoe and allows you to have a thumb rest. It's patterned after the old advancers on 35mm film cameras, which I started off with. I'm so old. So it has a familiar look on the camera, and again, it adds something aesthetically to it, even though it's really purely functional at this point. But I find it helps quite a bit, because now that I have the grip, I have another point of contact to keep the camera stable and to be comfortable for holding it for long periods of time. And that's super important when you're like shooting street and things like that, where you're walking around constantly and needing to, at the drop of a hat, if you will, take pictures. Okay, next up we have adapters. So one of the beautiful things about mirrorless cameras in general is that they, because of the flange distance and how simplified in some ways the whole mounting situation is for lenses, you can adapt anything really to a mirrorless camera, and the Fuji is no exception. I have 2 adapters that I use. I have this one, which is my preferred. It's for M42 screw mount, and it has incredible build quality and tolerances and attention to detail, which is important because I don't want to destroy the lenses or the camera when I'm taking it on and off. It's from K and F or K and H. I'll again link it in the description, but it's just really well designed. It's also attractive, which a lot of these adapters are not, as the other adapter I have that I'll show you right now. This adapter is an XF to EF adapter, which is really fantastic because you can adapt almost any vintage lens to EF, which means you can just slap it onto the EF adapter, and you don't have to have multiple adapters, right? You don't have to have one for N4.2 and one for FD and one for FE or whatever you're doing. So in that sense, it's really flexible, and you can have one adapter to kind of rule them all. But all of the EF adapters I found are not really well constructed, and they're cheap and chintzy and kind of light. I don't really use this adapter much, not only because it doesn't really inspire confidence, but also because I prefer to use M4.2 mount lenses as my vintage go-to. So, you know, my Super Takumars, which I've talked about before, the Helios 44-2, which I like, a lot of those vintage lenses all came out with the M4.2 mount. And so I just kind of standardized on that myself, but there are adapters for every possible mount out there. And I highly encourage you to look into this, you know, invest in an adapter and just go on eBay and find a couple of inexpensive vintage lenses. You will be amazed at the quality you can get for the price that you can get. I mean, it's just incredible. And manual focus is not a big deal. And we're going to have a upcoming video about zone focusing with the XE-3 / XE-4 and these vintage lenses, so you can kind of see how I handle that. But it's worth experimenting. For $100 you can get a lens and an adapter and kind of go to town and see if it's something that you want to do. So highly encourage you doing that. Lastly, we're going to talk about a shutter release button. I know it seems ridiculous, and it is the least functional thing on here, but it does give you a better experience if you have, again, large hands and fingers of getting that shot. It's much more functional, and again, aesthetically, I think it looks amazing, especially if you coordinate it with the grip like I have. So I have wood grain on both of them. It makes the package look nice, but it really does, when you're going to shoot, give you a bit more control, and it feels better. Regardless, I guarantee it will make a difference in your shooting. Okay, that's it. Like I said, another quick one, but if you buy these accessories and add them to your toolkit, you can easily take your XE-3 or XE-4 from something that looks like this all the way to something that looks like this, which is much more usable, much more attractive in my opinion, and just a better overall experience. Okay, that's it for this one. All that's left for me to say is, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. It's a free internet. I won't hold it against you. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and I will see you guys in the next video when we talk about adapting vintage lenses to your XE-3 / XE-4.